Welcome everyone. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of Empowering Monday in partnership with Malaysian Business Magazine Online. I'm Soraya Munday, your host for this segment. And today I've got with me our guest, Mr. Tomas O'Farrell, the co-founder of Workana. And we are here today to talk about a very relevant topic on the job market and specifically the freelance market in Malaysia. We're going to give you a little background. Tom is going to kind of explain what Workana does, and then we'll go into detail as to, what can we expect or what a freelancer or a job poster can expect from your platform. Yeah?
Sounds good.
So Tom, welcome to the
Thank you very
show.
much.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for
Pleasure
making
to be here.
time. So give me a little bit in a nutshell, what is Workana?
Sure. So Workana is a freelance marketplace for remote work. So what we do is we connect clients on one side that are looking for the best freelance and remote talent available with all those freelancers wherever they may be. So for example, our clients are both SMEs and enterprise that are looking for the best designers, the best developers, the best digital marketers, and they can hire them either ongoing or for a particular project.
Sure. And as far as the reach for Workana, is it just in Malaysia or globally?
No, it's a lot wider than that. So we got started. I'm from Argentina. We got started in Latin America.
That's where the accent is.
That's
from.
where the accent is from.
Right.
8 years ago, and so we started in Argentina, went to Brazil, Mexico. Then we became regional leaders in Latin America. So we cover all across Latin America. And the past year, we're looking to expand internationally. We're looking for different places to go, but we really like Southeast Asia, the growth opportunities, and the aspect of the region.
Right.
So we opened up operations here with Malaysia as our headquarters.
So in Southeast Asia, Malaysia has been the special country that
Yes,
you...
and not only that, but it's the #1 country for the region as well,
Really?
both on clients and freelancers. Yes.
Right. So that would indicate that the freelance ecosystem in Malaysia is quite robust.
Which is very similar to what we found out in Argentina. So
right.
There is this very robust ecosystem, but most freelancers are used to doing things offline. Correct. So how do you get started? You're a freelancer. You find somebody to give you the first job, and then with your referrals and all that, you slowly word of mouth. Yeah. You slowly build out your network.
Right.
And that's pretty much how everything was done. The problem with that is there's all these frictions and all these problems with creating this base. Mm-hmm. And also when you get a new client, how do you know that the client will actually pay you? Yep. How do you know that it won't delay payment? Every freelancer has all these horror stories of waiting months and months and months and getting paid, and freelancers don't really have an accounts receivable department that sort of manages all that.
Yes.
And they need the money to pay rent, to buy equipment, all that stuff. So the magic of Workana, using a platform like us, is that we manage all payments. Okay. So whenever a freelancer starts work, the payment is guaranteed. And we act as we hold those funds in escrow and we release them. So the freelancer knows that the money's there. Mm-hmm. And also for the clients, they're hiring somebody that they probably never see. So they know that the client will deliver on the job, they won't run away with the money, all that sort of thing. So
Right. So you are pretty much curating what
Correct.
is already out there, but in a more efficient and effective.
That's right. The other thing, for example, is say one of the big things that we do is finding developers. And most people are not developers. I'm not tech. I don't have a tech background. So how do I know if the person really knows what they're doing? I have no idea. Which is very similar to when my car breaks down, I go to the mechanic. I have no idea what's going on over there. Mm-hmm. And whatever the mechanic says sort of goes, because I don't know. When hiring tech talent, it used to be like that. But one of the magic things that Workana does is it adds a public reputation to everybody.
So we can rate?
Exactly. So both parties rate each other after the job is done.
Right.
And when you're hiring somebody to redo all your e-commerce website, then you know that person has done 45 very similar jobs before, and that the rating was, say, 4.9 stars. Right. So that you're confident that this person really knows what they're doing. On the same way, maybe you're hiring somebody that has no experience, but you know that they have no experience and they're starting out, and these things are out in the open.
Okay. So that gives it a level of transparency and integrity for both parties.
Correct, which is very similar to what other marketplaces have done in other areas. So, for example, Grab.
Yeah.
What you're doing is you're getting into a random stranger's car, right? Mm-hmm. That's what you're doing. But because of Grab added all this level of trust and safety to it, you're pretty sure that the guy won't kidnap you whenever you get a grab, and that they actually take you to where you want to go. We try to add the same thing, level of trust and safety to our transactions inside of Workana.
Right. How has the take-up rate been in Malaysia? I mean, you've been established in Malaysia, what, a year and a half?
Yeah.
What has the growth been? And clearly now with the pandemic, have you seen a, rather surge in, freelancers or, people looking for freelancers? Because as it is, I'm sure a lot of companies are downsizing, having to kind of lay off full-time workers. So do you see companies moving more towards freelancing employees? And or are there more freelancers out there just saying, hey, I need a job?
Okay, so I'll tell you our experience before the virus and after the virus, which I think for everybody's been very different. Mm-hmm. So before the virus, we sort of had an idea of the level of receptiveness that the market was going to have, but to be honest, we didn't really know. Until you go out and you try, you don't know. We found out coming here that the level of talent in Malaysia and across Southeast Asia for freelancers is very good. We found out that there is a wide network of freelancers that are already operating in the region, and we found out that there are many people that are probably not freelancers right now or working on their own, but they're very interested in that. Right. So that's one of the things. And we also found that companies were struggling to find good, reliable talent as well. And so those things were true, and we sort of built our base around those things, and we're growing quite nicely before the pandemic. So when the pandemic hit, at first everything shut down because nobody knew what was going to happen. Yes. So companies were just like circling the wagons, and everybody was in survival mode, making sure that my employees are safe, my clients are safe, all those sort of things, right? So, but once that went away,
my bank account.
But the good thing of having operations all across is that Southeast Asia in general manage this thing way better than Latin America, way better than Latin America.
Aren't you glad you're here?
Yeah, so there's always somebody that does it better, but there's always somebody that does it worse. Yes. So for me, I'm very happy to have gone through that here than back home. Yeah. After the pandemic, what happened was that everybody from one day to the other was forced to go to remote work.
Yes.
So remote work was something that we've been doing since the day we started 8 years ago.
Yeah. So for you, it's just another day, right?
For us, it's very normal, and we didn't have any disruption in our operations. But our clients, it wasn't the same. So our clients, they'd have this. So from one day to the other, they had to go. Everybody was forced to go into remote work, and probably the worst kind of remote work, because you had zero preparation. Maybe your equipment didn't work. Maybe your access, you had something that you need to set up and wasn't working. Maybe your virtual thing didn't work at the time. So it was no preparation, and there was no schools, no anything. So you have your kids jumping around your home when you're trying to do a conference call, where you're trying to do. Yeah. So it's a very challenging time. Yeah. But despite all that, most people's experience with it was largely very positive. Now you get all this surveys going where over half of the people that were forced to work remotely say, I don't really want to go back to the office. And you get all these companies saying, first it started with the tech companies, Facebook, Google, Twitter, all those guys saying, hey, maybe this remote thing will extend it longer term. But then the more traditional companies come in. Yeah. You get banks, you get consumer companies, all those saying, hey, maybe we don't really need an office with 10,000 people working there.
Exactly.
So what happened was the remote work experiment, even though it was done in the worst possible conditions, was very successful. So most companies are now saying this remote thing can be a permanent thing.
It's not too bad after all, right?
This is one of the silver linings of all that. So you have more companies and employees looking for remote work. Right. And the other is what you said. So many companies cut down their staff. So you've got, all across the most developed and developing countries both, you've got massive unemployment. You'll have recession in many countries. And with this unemployment, one of the good things about freelancing is that it can actually act as a remedy, as a cure, to solve all this unemployment issue. So you get many people that cannot work. In many industries, the unemployment is not temporary, like say work travel. Work travel will be a very, very long time until it goes back to something close to where it was, or maybe it's never. Yeah. So those people that were in that industry, what are they going to do? Yeah. So freelancing could be an option there, and we're seeing both things. So we're seeing an interest both on freelancing joining our platform, and also on clients being more open to this idea of hiring remote work.
Right. I would just like to kind of expand a bit more on what you said. So certain industries literally are going to be wiped out.
Yes.
If they have not already. The likes of the tourism industry, at least for the next 1 year. We're looking at 6 months for sure. Now, if they have a certain skill set in such a specific industry, is there still a need or is there still a possibility of them being a freelancer?
Oh, that is a very good point that you're raising.
Yeah.
And it depends. But I think there is one of the areas where I think everybody can do a bit more in the reskilling. So, for example, say tourism that you mentioned, right? And you're a tourist guide that's working in, say, East Malaysia, and you before there were X amount of tourists that were coming in. Now there's X divided by something, 2, 3, nobody knows. But that person probably that was working there probably knows 4 or 5 languages. They're very used to working with tourism, working with clients, client-facing jobs. So with some reskilling and some education, that person could become a very good account manager or a very good customer success manager. So I do think that there's a very big opportunity right now to reskill part of this population, particularly in those industries that were very hard hit.
Right.
And we are doing a lot as Workana to help out there. But again, we're a private company, so our impact is small. So if more private companies do this, or if the government helps out and start doing this, I think this is one of the things that we can invest in and have a very big impact.
Right. Just to also add on to what you said, at this point in time, I think the Ministry of Human Resource had already announced that we're looking at a 2 million employment as of right now in Malaysia, and reskilling and uptraining is something that the government is looking at. The agency HRDF is actually about to embark on something. So don't quote me on this yet because it's not out yet, but we should be seeing some potential programs to reskill and upskill from the government side. Again, it is not just a one-person initiative or one kind of force to kind of push this ahead, but it is everyone's responsibility. And I think the whole intent of this program is also to empower the viewers and the people who might find themselves out of the job to see, okay, what do I do now, right? So can I go to Workana's website and what can I potentially expect from, being either signed up or, where do I go from there?
Sure. So if somebody that is interested in both freelance or remote work goes to Workana, so they'll see all these different options. Number one is even before the virus, there was all this uncertainty of becoming a freelancer and because it's a relatively new thing.
Yes.
So I remember when I was starting my first full-time job, I also had all these questions and all these doubts. And I go to all these interviews, and in most places I never even hear from anybody. And am I doing this correctly? Is this something wrong with me? But you had your parents, your cousins, your friend, you had everybody that had already gone through the process. And no, it's okay. This is what you should do. This is how you should act in an interview. This is how an interview should go until you expect to get some sort of answer and all those sort of things. So that help was available for full-time jobs. We need to provide something very similar to having a remote or freelance career. So we're doing a lot of that from Workana, offering content and guides and videos and webinars on how to take those first steps. How do I get started with my career as a freelancer?
Okay. So you've got resources on the website as well. So
people go to Workana. It's all free. It's all open. Go and
we'll link
make the best use of it.
Yeah, we'll link the website URL at the bottom of the program. But definitely check it out. If there's resources free, please take advantage of that. Okay,
yes.
Please.
And we're also looking into this reskilling part because I do think that any investment that we can do in making more people familiar and proficient at digital sort of jobs, it'll definitely pay off.
Also, I think the government is actually supporting with certain grants. Again, don't quote me on this, but I did come across a few articles that says the government is focusing on the gig economy. So now it's called the gig economy,
it
right?
has all these different names.
Yes, so that's like the lingo now. But as far as a freelancer is concerned, how do I value my service? So, because I'm a consultant, right? That's what I do on a day-to-day. sometimes in the beginning, like I don't even know how much am I supposed to charge. And I think that's common amongst a lot of people who want to attempt to freelance. They don't even know where do they start, how do they value their service. So is there like a benchmark on your website? Like is it dependent on experience? Or do I just throw a number and see if someone decides to take it up?
This is a very normal question,
Okay.
and whenever people are thinking about this, there's usually two things that they need to have. So they need to have the hard skills. So if you're going to be a developer that does say React, you need to know how to program in React. You need to know how to do PHP or whatever it is that translate from Mandarin to English. You have to be very good at that. So that's a hard skill. And sometimes people think that that part is the hardest. But actually, hardest is what you mentioned, what we call the soft skills. So when you work at a company, you're in charge of a small thing, and many of the things the company sort of does for you. But when you're a freelancer, you work on your own, you're in charge. You're one show. So you're in charge of selling yourself. So how do I sell myself? How do I market myself? How do I set a price? How do I know a price that is good? How do I negotiate? How do I know when to give in and when to stand firm when a client asks for a discount? How do I manage my project management? You have 3 or 4 different clients, and I promise one. I promise something on Thursday, for the other on Tuesday, to make sure that I deliver. When I start being more successful, how do I turn around and recruit people to join me and help me out? All these sort of things freelancers need to do, and they need to do on their own. And that part is by far harder than the other one. The most successful freelancers we see on our platform are the ones that are very good at managing these things. So most of what we do is trying to help them out in here. So going to your question, how do I set the rate? Yes. So we provide benchmarks because it's different if you're a developer, if you're a designer, if you're a Facebook marketer, and it changes if you're just starting out, if you're intermediate, if you're very senior. There's all these guides and ranges that we provide to give them. The other thing that we do is we also provide them a tool that says, okay, how much do I need to make on a monthly basis? So we make everybody grab their monthly expenses, like rent, all those sort of things. How many hours do I want to work? How much do I want to save for a rainy day and all those sort of things. And they'll help them.
And then they work backwards, right?
They work backwards because, okay, every hour I should be able to charge this amount.
I think an easy way, at least for me when I first started, is I take a benchmark as to what I was earning monthly from my full-time job. And then I just divide it by the number of hours I'm willing to work weekly. And then you kind of have to give like a few months trial and error to see whether, okay, is this what the market is willing to pay? Because as much as you want to demand, there's also a willingness from the market, So until a freelancer has established some sort of integrity within the ecosystem, then they can demand for a bit more, right? But at the moment, when you're first starting, you kind of have to be a bit more flexible.
It's hard because you're sort of making your name. Getting those first few jobs is by far the hardest. But it's a good approach. So grab what you were making before on a full-time job, divided by the amount of hours you want to work. So it gives you a place.
Right. And then you also mentioned something about, kind of hiring people to help you once you've kind of established a base. Do you see a lot of freelancers being a bit hesitant in employing someone else to help them because they're so afraid that they can't afford another headcount? Is that common?
It happens because it's a big decision. I mean, you're becoming a team. You're creating a team. Usually what happens is for the first few projects, they just join for that particular project to make sure that to validate if they can work together as a team, they have good fit and all that, and then they take the next step. But whenever that happens, it's amazing. I would love to see that happening with somebody that's starting out, then become more senior, then become one of the top-ranked freelancers, and they start getting more people to join the team. And all of a sudden, they're working with 10 people.
And usually, when you realize that you need help, chances are that's when it is time to grow, right?
And the ability of having the team usually allows them to get higher paying projects because this project, maybe they're a developer, but they need a designer, they need somebody else to complement their skills.
Absolutely. Coming back to establishing your rate as a freelancer. Now, do you, in your experience, Does Malaysia still have like one of the cheaper costs of labor as opposed to the other Southeast Asian countries?
Not really, I wouldn't say
Yeah.
that.
So we're quite competitive
Yeah,
right now.
I think,
Okay.
yeah. And again, it always depends on what's the main driver. So, because even if you go for price, there's always going to be a cheaper country. But it's very hard working with somebody that is in a different time zone and speaks a different language. So I'll give you an example. One thing that happens in Latin America, Venezuela, because all the government problems, is one of the cheapest countries there is right now.
Right.
But it's very hard for companies here to work with somebody in Venezuela because it's 11 hours away, different language, all that. So no, Malaysians are very competitive there.
And have you seen any particular job posting trends on your website? Is there suddenly a search for a particular industry or a particular skill set? Because then, if we've got audiences who are freelancers, and if they resonate with that skill set, then they know, okay, I need to get onto Workana like immediately, right?
There's a few trends that were happening before that are continuing. So anything tech related on the mobile apps side that was always high before and it keeps on being high now. What probably changed and is in high demand now and wasn't as high before is anything that is related to e-commerce. Okay. So many companies are seeing that their main channel has been disrupted. And they probably had an online presence before, but it was probably like ranked number 4. And they sort of said, well, maybe when I have some time, I'll get around to it. And now they said, okay, I really need to boost this up.
Yes.
So people, both, so developers have experience with e-commerce sites, very in high demand. People that understand how to create this digital presence, also in high demand. That includes people that can do performance ads, people that can do email marketing, people that can do social media. All those sort of things are in high demand now because companies saying, I really need to have this figured out.
And this would, you would foresee that this trend will continue at least for a good 6 months to 1 year from now.
Yes, and I would venture even longer.
Right. I mean, the pandemic has kind of forced us into a new way of doing our business and even shopping online and getting our day-to-day jobs done. So the dynamics of being a freelancer has also changed. Has this period been good for Workana, unlike most other businesses affected?
So it's been a very challenging period, I'd say, for everybody. So you have all the loss of human life, you've got all the people that are all the uncertainty, all the medical thing. So I'd say it's a very challenging time. What we've been working very hard since the pandemic hit to be able to do is, okay, can we provide a relief and for some of the affected population? And how can we make sure that we give that at the biggest scale possible? That's where we're focusing right now and trying to race against time because it's something that is it hit very quick from one day to the next.
Can you give me, the steps that a potential viewer might have to go through when they go to Workana? So if I'm a freelancer, do I just go to Workana website and say, okay, I've got this skill set, I want to post my skill set. Is it free?
So I'll tell you how. So companies come to Workana and say you're a client looking to find good talent. So you go to Workana and you sign up. That's free. You post your spec, your project, what you're looking for, which is very simple to do. Most companies do it in under 5 minutes. So it gives you a basic outline of what you're looking for, and right away you start getting proposals. Our system does all this matching thing where we compare hundreds and hundreds of different variables to make sure that we match the correct company with the correct freelancer. So really, that is the biggest driver. Right. Instead of giving you 200 different applications and forcing companies to sort through all them, we do all the matching for them to make sure that the ones we provide are the best fit.
Right. So you've got your own algorithm for this. Okay.
Yes, and we keep on evolving it. There's all these data points that we see.
Right.
So we keep on. The algorithm sort of keeps feeding on itself.
So you match. And then after that, once a match is established, I'm sure there'll be a few options.
And
then what does?
Then client and freelancer can talk to each other. They can interview each other. They can negotiate price. All that thing happens via the platform, via text, video, whatever it is they want to do.
Right.
And once client has found somebody that they want to work with, they hire them, then they pay the full project upfront.
Full project, yeah.
And then we hold those funds in escrow. We don't get, and we only release them to freelancer once the project is completed.
Right. Has there been any instances where the company is not as happy with the outcome of the freelancer?
But surprisingly or luckily, it's not as big of a deal as we thought. Right. Mainly because of all this matching thing that we do.
Right. So that is somewhat foolproof when it comes to the matching. And have you seen a lot of repeat clients in the industry?
Yeah, we have, and it sort of shows that we did the matching job. We did it correctly the first time. So your client comes back and rehires the same freelancer or keeps on hiring within our platform. That's the main metric we use to ensure that we pick correctly the first time.
Okay. Tell the audience the clients or the very established clients that you have. So, within your system right now, who are you working with?
So we're working with a very wide array of companies, from very small SMEs, from one-person companies to the bigger enterprise companies, like say Unilever, for example. And in the enterprise clients, what the main driver that they have is the very same. So how do I find the best possible talent wherever they may be?
Okay. And what would you say to people who thinks that the freelance job or the freelance ecosystem is more geared towards someone with a tech or IT background? Because in the past, at least the perception I had, okay, a freelancer can only be either a creative designer, a web developer, or someone that doesn't need human interaction.
True. Another misconception is that most freelancers are young, and this is something for the younger.
With a hoodie.
Yes. No, that's not the case. Okay. So we have many of our freelancers are older, people that have been in the workplace for a number of years. They have all this experience and all this wisdom, but they chose to now try out and work on their own. Many of our freelancers are not tech related, are not designers, and they work in customer service. They work in account management. They do content, for example. And all those things are areas where people can find work.
And usually, how much time before a good match happens?
Right away. So they start getting the first matches within minutes, and most projects get started within the first 48 hours. So within the first 48 hours, the matching, the vetting, and the interviewing, and the negotiating all took place.
Wow.
So it's very, very quick. And that's one of the advantages of this model for clients. When you go and try to hire somebody full-time, it takes from 2 to 4 months from that person to find it until they actually start. So
guys, if you're really in need of like a job, I mean, go check out the website. You never know. You might just get a job.
Particularly in moments like this. So companies have scaled back when the pandemic first hit. Now, as the economy opens up, most companies are looking to scale back up, and by doing it this way, they speed up the process and the results.
Okay, I also noticed that when I was perusing your website, some freelancers had the icon hero next to their name. What is that?
Oh, those are the top ranked freelancers.
Wow.
That is the top level. That is very hard to get. And that sort of gives you the assurance that if you hire one of those freelancers, people be very, very comfortable knowing that they really, really know their things. Not only their area of expertise, but also in how to work as a freelancer, how to work with different clients.
Right.
Those are the most sought after freelancers, usually very hard to get.
Right.
They're all fully booked.
So that's, if you're a freelancer, that should be your ultimate goal, right?
Yes.
To be a hero on Workana. Yes. Fantastic. When it comes to payment, because payment's always a bit of a sticky subject, how people would probably ask, how secure is the payment? Have you got a back end that is, very secure? We're talking about money, and freelancers sometimes are just a bit wary. Are they going to even get paid? So can you just maybe assure the audience that?
Sure. Yeah. One of the things we do is we manage all payments. So everything payments end to end happens via our platform, just to make sure that it's perfectly safe and secure, as you mentioned. So clients can pay us in whatever currency they are, in whatever country they are, with whatever means they want. So you can do bank transfer, you can do credit card, you can do PayPal, you can do all these different things.
Right.
And we grab the money and we do the same thing for the freelancer. We pay them usually in the bank account or whatever option they prefer in their local currency. So the freelancer is here, the freelancer is in the Philippines, the freelancer is in Singapore. They all want to get paid fully, obviously, and we manage all that.
Wow. Okay, so it's pretty seamless.
Yes.
Very, very seamless, guys. Okay, so what's next for Workana? What do you foresee in the next 6 months at least?
Good question. Open-ended. I don't know. So on one side, how can we keep on ensuring that the world's recovery from this is as quick as can be? That's one of the areas of focus. The other area is how do we give our freelancers the best possible experience? So one is making sure that we match them with the right client. That's one side. But there's all these other things that freelancers, when you're living and when you're working on your own, that you need. And usually it's very hard for them to get. Like access to finance, access to loans, access to insurance, all those sort of things are very hard to get. How can we improve that side? It's also another part of the work.
Right, okay. So if there are any viewers out there who would like to potentially collaborate with you,
very happy to do that. Very open to those conversations.
Are there any specific collaborations that you would like to kind of just put out there?
No,
just
those,
in case
those three that I mentioned, but any sort of area that helps freelancers be as productive and as happy as they would be working at a full-time job in a big company by doing it on their own, remotely, wherever they are.
Fantastic. Well, at least, this has helped us kind of open up the topic of freelancing in Malaysia. I think at least within, my ecosystem, or at least the perception that I've had in the past is that, number one, freelancers, having a freelance career is unstable. Mm-hmm. And I think with Workana, that can assure me that I have access to potential clients. I know that I'll be getting paid, and I know that it is curated for me and my skill set. Sure. Right? So you have, as a viewer, if you're in this position and you need a job, you have no excuse. You should go over to Workana website. And are you on any other social media?
Most of them.
Okay.
So whatever you use,
Instagram,
we'll probably get,
Facebook,
Twitter, we're usually out.
Correct. And
LinkedIn also.
LinkedIn, there you go. And if you need to reach out to, how do can they drop you an email, their customer service?
They can just send us an email or reach out through all those social media platforms. We'll be very happy to do it.
Okay, guys, I hope you've kind of benefited from this. I think a lot of us are in that position right now where instability or, the uncertainty of the next few months is kind of starting to creep in quite a bit. So go check out Workana website, Workana social media pages. Empower yourself to kind of move on to that next phase, establishing either a freelance career or a full-time, but create this environment where you can decide what jobs you want to take. You can put a value on your service. Don't go around doing work for free anymore. I know quite a few people who say, okay, I'm a freelancer, but then they end up doing a lot of free work.
We're very much against free work.
You got to put a value on your time, because that's the most precious thing that you have. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Tom, for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you again on the next episode of Empowering Monday. Don't forget to check out Workana, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.